Hi and welcome or welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Flo and today's video is going through my favourite books of all time. I'm so excited to do this video because I'm just really excited to talk about my favourite books. So let's get into it. So this video is in no particular order, but I can't not talk about, gun to my head, I think this series is my all-time favourite, and that is the Boys of Tommen series. These books are so big, so it's really hard to carry them all, and they're in the wrong order, but anyway. So these are the first 4 books in the series, and I know that Chloe Walsh has just announced the next 2 books in the series, which I'm really excited for, but the downside is these are the indie published versions, and I don't think she's going to publish any more in the series with the indie covers, so I'm going to end up with a different set of books, which is not good for the aesthetics. But when my book buying ban is over, I do want to buy the new release covers of this series anyway. So to give you a bit of background about what the books are about, if you haven't already heard anything about them, which would surprise me because I feel like everybody on BookTok and BookTube raves about these books and recommends them. And as you can see, they're super thick, right? But for me, they did not feel long enough. So the first 2 books in the series are Binding 13 and Keeping 13, and they both follow Shannon and Johnny. So Shannon was being bullied at her old school, and so her mum decides to move her to Tommen College, which is a private school, and it's set in Ireland. That's where she meets Johnny, and Johnny's star rugby player of the school, popular kid, and Shannon is like extremely shy and extremely vulnerable. She has a really difficult home life, and the emotions and the way that like Chloe portrays these characters is just so beautiful that you really feel like, because of how big these books are, you really feel like you get to know the characters on such a deep level. And it's the same for all of the books in the series. Turning the page and I'm crying, and then the next I'm laughing. Like, it's just the way she talks about and describes really deep and difficult family home situations. I would check the trigger warnings, and then like has humor with some of the characters like Gibbsy, and he gets his own book and I'm really excited for that. It's just like, I can't even describe into words how amazing it is, and like you're on such an emotional roller coaster. And I love that the characters, when they come together, like Johnny's so protective of Shannon, wants the best for her, and it's really nice to see like the character development of Shannon when she goes to this new school and how she comes out of her shell. So just amazing and absolute perfection. And then the next books in the series that are just as thick, if not thicker, are Saving 6 and Redeeming 6. And these books follow Joey and Aoife. Joey is Shannon's older brother, and again it connects obviously their troubled home life and sort of the challenges that he faces with that, but also the sort of identity struggles that he goes through coming from that really difficult family home and being the elder brother that sort of acts as the protector for all of his siblings, and dealing with that weight of responsibility whilst navigating like a relationship with Aoife, and they have their own struggles too. It's just amazing. And like the development of Joey, and I would just be crying seeing like how little he thinks of himself, and then seeing him at the end of the second of their books was just like chef's kiss, beautiful. And then the next series I love is the Twisted series. However, the 2 books that I loved the most were Twisted Games and Twisted Lies. Twisted Lies was the best book out of the 4 series. It's a 4-part series, but all of the books are standalone, so you can read each of them without the other. But I read them all in order from Twisted Love right the way through to Twisted Lies. And I have to say, doing it in the correct order and reading all of them, I just loved the way that like the characters intertwined throughout each of the books, and you saw like sprinkles of old characters in the new books. It was just amazing. I also think for all of the books there was the right level of spice but plot as well. So Twisted Games was the 2nd book in the series, and this is like the tropes of forbidden romance, princess falling in love with the bodyguard, and I absolutely love forbidden romance. I think that whilst I didn't have high expectations because it was around like royal family, and I never really enjoy books that are about royalty, princesses and things like that, but this was amazing. I think because Bridget starts as like a normal person in college, and then she steps into her role in her royal family, was amazing. And then like Reese is like this typical grumpy bodyguard, and just the characters of Bridget and how she sort of counteracts Reese's grumpiness, it's just amazing. I don't think it's actually grumpy sunshine, but I feel like all of the men, the twisted men, have some level of grump, and all of the twisted women have some level of sunshine. So yeah, I thought it was really great, and I didn't actually know where the plot was going. Some people said that they felt like the plot was predictable, but I didn't guess anything. I don't know whether I'm just naive, I don't know. I felt like the length of this book, the pacing gripped me, and my favourite scene, of course, is when they go on holiday, but I won't spoil that for you. And so the next book in the Twisted series was the final book, which was Twisted Lies, and I inhaled this book to the point where at the end of finishing this book, I went into the biggest reading slump of my life. I was looking up the aesthetic of Stella online, like making Pinterest boards for the characters. I was fully obsessed. So it follows Stella and Christian. Christian is some like morally grey billionaire, and Stella is a shy social media influencer. They fake date. I feel like this book is like jam-packed with so many of my favourite tropes. So fake dating is one, forced proximity is another, neighbours is another, and then the other one is morality chain, because Stella brings Christian out of his grey morals and like leads him to question his morals. I feel like also the pace of this book was amazing. It was a slow burn as well, so like the level of just seeing the characters connect, and because they were fake dating as well, and I think he falls first, I just loved that build up. I loved this book so much. I think that the characters, because you saw them in the previous books in like little snippets, it really helped you feel so connected to them when you got to their book, and it was so highly anticipated. I would recommend this book if you love all of the tropes that I just mentioned, because the author just gets those tropes so spot on throughout this book. And then keeping in the theme of series, because I've realised that I clearly do love a series, is The Deal by Elle Kennedy. This was one of the first books where I knew how it felt to be completely obsessed with a book, because I was on Pinterest looking at aesthetics of the couple, buying Briar University merchandise, like hoodies. In my like rediscovering reading journey, I would say this is the book that like made me pick up my pace of reading so much more. It follows Hannah and Garrett at university. Garrett is, if you've not heard of this book already, because I feel like everybody has, but if you haven't, Garrett is like a hockey star at Briar University, and Hannah is a music student. They are in the same class together, and I think he needs some form of like tutoring, so Hannah agrees to give it to him, and in exchange for a deal, he like fake dates her for a bit because she has a crush on another football star, but then they end up falling in love, and just their development together. And I love that they both have different like personal family issues going on, but when they come together as a couple, they just get so much stronger together, and it's just perfect. I think the balance of them not relying on a relationship to become better people, but the element of the support that they have for each other, making them better as individuals, but also as a strong couple, is just great. And then I love seeing throughout the rest of the series like little snippets of them throughout each of the other characters' books. And then finally, my most recent favourite read was Daisy Hates, and I know I spoke about this book on my August reading wrap up, which was my first ever video, but just to sort of go through this one again, and keeping in the theme of books in series and characters with questionable morals, it's no surprise that I absolutely loved this book. I didn't love the first Magnolia Parks book. I found it like a little bit toxic. This one still is a bit like toxic. The characters are on and off with each other. So it follows Daisy and Christian, and both come from families that are sort of tied up in the crime scene in London. Christian owns a few nightclubs as well, and then Daisy's brother is like the lead ringer of their sort of crime circle. And it's kind of, I don't say it's a love triangle, but the first book definitely was. The Magnolia Parks first book is a love triangle, and Christian is in that love triangle. And so this book kind of takes you through Christian's journey of getting over his first love interest and how his feelings develop for Daisy. I think they start off like casually hooking up, and then of course they catch feelings, which is like my favorite thing as well. I love seeing characters that start off in fake relationships like Twisted Lies, where they're not supposed to have feelings for each other, and then they fall, and I love it when the guy falls first. This one though, I think Daisy fell first, but still, I ate it up. I loved it. I finished it so quickly. There is a lot of back and forth between Daisy and Christian, which I don't love. Like, I don't love the toxic side of that, but I was still kept on my feet because I think the crime circle angle of this book really helped like the plot, and it gave like another element, whereas I think that's what Magnolia Park's, the first book, for me really lacked, was that like added level of depth within the plot. Whereas this, because of the crime angle, I loved it. Like I couldn't guess what was happening, and so I felt really on my toes. It was such escapism because it's so far beyond my experience in London and anything that like is close to my reality. So I loved this book, and when I'm off my book buying ban, I can't wait to inhale the rest of the series. I hear that it just gets better and better. So that wraps up my favorite books of all time. If you've read any of these, let me know in the comments if you enjoyed them, what your thoughts were, and also if you can recommend any books based upon the fact that I love these, please let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.